Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to another edition of Drink with Your Shrink. How's everybody doing tonight? Drink with your shrink. Drink with your shrink. It's time to drink with your shrink. You know
Doing
what? I
well.
think we need slogans. Who in the group is super creative and crafty and can come up with slogans for drink with your shrink, although I think drink with your shrink is a pretty cute slogan in and of itself. We're going to have some creative jingles, like that I can sing, and it's got to be short and sweet because I'm not a very good singer person. So, welcome to the next edition of Drink with Your Shrink. We are in August. We meet the first Monday of the month, and here we are. We are meeting, and every time I think, oh, I got to quit this, I'm not doing this, nobody's enjoying this or getting anything out of this, I turn on my camera and you guys all show up. So this is so great. And I love it when you guys show up and it's not just me in here talking to myself. So let's go over some housekeeping things before we jump in. You may see somebody in here that you know, and that's okay. If you see somebody in here that you know, that's okay. Keep it private, keep it confidential. Make sure that what is said in here stays in here. Okay. So we're going to respect the confidentiality of others, just like you want them to respect your confidentiality. We are not here to judge other people. And this is not one of those places where you're going to mute yourself unless you got a lot of background noise going on. This is where we're going to engage with one another. We're going to interact with one another. We're going to share ideas. We're going to talk about what's working for you. We're going to talk about maybe what's not working for you. If you're not comfortable turning on your camera, you certainly don't have to. But if you want to turn on your camera, you absolutely can turn on your camera. I have some people that are helping me with checking for questions and monitoring the chat. And so if you post a question and it gets missed, somebody's going to let me know about it, but you can keep your camera on, you can keep yourself unmuted, and we're going to engage. This is a place for community. It's where we all come together, and that's what this is all about. That's why I started this. And here is my disclaimer. I have to say it every time we meet. My attorney tells me that I have to say it. If you are drinking alcohol, please drink responsibly. I am not responsible for what you do as a result of drinking alcohol, either before, during, or after tonight's event. So please give me a thumbs up, nod your head, put in the chat box, Tracy is amazing, so that everybody knows that I am not responsible for anything that you do before, during, or after tonight's event as a result of drinking alcohol. Okay? Tracy is amazing in the chat box. Let me see it. I am drinking what I'm always drinking every time we meet, and that is water. Good old refreshing, clear water. It's what I'm always drinking. I'm a heavy drinker. That's always in front of me. So tonight we're going to discuss some very serious topics, but we're going to have fun while we're doing it. We're going to be relaxed. We're going to enjoy ourselves. And this is where meaningful conversations come together, where we have mental wellness and we have a refreshing beverage. So whether you're sipping coffee or tea or water like me, our community is here to embrace the therapeutic power of connections. So raise your glasses to self-care, positivity, and a journey to more balanced life. Cheers to you. All right. So tonight is something that I do kind of randomly every few times that we meet, and it's just a group therapy session. So I don't have a predetermined topic. You guys get to pick the topic. So what do you guys want to talk about tonight? It's kind of like a Dear Abby. I think most of you are old enough to remember Dear Abby and Ann Landers. So the doctor is in. The doctor will see you now. What questions do you have?
Question. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. So, I have a girlfriend who's confided in me, and now I feel very responsible. Um, she has confided in me that she's doing pills. And I think that she seems to be in a place where she wants to get help. I mean, I'm blessed that she chose me to speak to, but now I feel heavy. But she she's afraid that if she goes to get help, that the person who is the counselor or therapist or whoever will report her to her doctor, and her doctor will stop the medicine and blah blah blah, all that stuff. So what is the protocol for somebody, like, if she goes to a counselor and she says, you know what, I'm doing pain pills and I'm doing them all and I'm using them all in the first 2 days, blah blah blah. What happens with a counselor? What's their responsibility, and what can I tell her to encourage her to go to get help? She's afraid she's gonna get in trouble.
Okay, very good question. And I'm not a substance abuse counselor, so I can't say for 100% sure, but I can tell you what I would do if it were me. If someone came to me not being a substance abuse counselor, and I know Elkanah, she's a therapist, so she might be able to have a different answer. If someone comes to me and they tell me that they're abusing pills, I'm not calling anybody. I'm not ratting her out. I'm not telling on her. She has confidentiality, and the only times that we uh, kind of tell on someone or rat someone out is if they're going to hurt themselves or hurt someone else. And other than that, we don't tell on anyone. We don't report that information to anyone. If someone comes and says, I have a substance abuse problem and I really need some help, and they want inpatient or they want intensive outpatient or they want help getting clean and sober and those types of things, I can refer them to resources in the community, but I'm not going to tell on them or call their doctor and be like, hey, they're misusing their prescription. I'm not going to do any of that. So that is my stance. That is the NASW stance for ethics with social workers. So my understanding is that is the way all counselors would do it, but I think she's probably very right to be cautious on who she would share that information with, because sadly I can't say that all therapists are as ethical as I think I am. So that's how I would handle it as a therapist.
I agree. As much as much as I know, um, my job would be to first of all thank her for coming to me, trusting me with that information. So I would definitely not be thinking about telling anyone, because my job would be to encourage her to get help, whether that is a referral, referring her to a different place where she feels comfortable. I may sit down with her, guide her through the process, how she may or may not want to disclose that when she get there, which part she feel like selling, when does she feel like going. I don't think I would be pressuring her as her therapist. I think my job would be to comfort her and put her in the level where she can go and get that help. Because if you like, I feel like if I tell or if I make her feel like I'm going to tell someone, she's not gonna get the help that she needed. And um one person that she trusted, and we don't, at least from what I learned, that with our ethics, trust is, everything with the clients that we work with. So having someone like that come to you, that's a really big deal. So I wouldn't, I wouldn't do that. That's not something I would do. But again, I can't speak for everyone, but I know that part of my job is to not make anyone feel shameful about anything that they've done. It's just we all done things, and it's my job to hold her hand per se and feel that empathy that she needs and give her that support and that guidance. I don't see me doing that at all.
Absolutely. Yep. Does that help, Elisa?
Yes, I will certainly let her know. She's going to be very excited. She may at some point she may join this monthly thing. I would like for her to.
That's a
She's
great
just
idea.
she's skittish. She's skittish. So okay. Thank you so much, both of you.
Totally understand. What other questions do we have tonight?
I mean, I have a question. I
Okay.
don't know if it's a question, more of a statement. I feel like right now the world it feels very heavy. It feels really heavy for me. It feels heavy for the people that I'm working with. Um, without disclosing any personal anyone, I do work with the individuals with disabilities right now, and they're not feeling very supportive. Also, the LGBTQ plus I, they don't. Those two groups are already marginalized, and I also with the immigrant population. So I think you guys know where I'm coming from right now. And as someone who works in a nonprofit organization, things are quite tough. I'm doing my best to support everyone and not make them feel, as she was saying, a lot of my immigrant families are kind of at that same scary boat. And so I know I feel very heavy. For the past 2 months, I can honestly say I taking 2 weeks off because I just need to refill me back up, and also I feel like as an individual, I'm not doing enough. I mean, I know I'm doing everything I can, but it just doesn't. Right now, with everything going on, those group of populations are, it's really hard to get through to them with services, and not just the services, but I feel like we done so much progress, and now they feel like the progress that have been taken away from those individuals, and it's really hurtful. It really is.
It is hard. And I think anytime we get a new administration, we all wonder what's going to happen. Are there going to be good things? Are there going to be bad things? We don't know. And there's a lot of fear of the unknown. And so what I told a lot of people was, especially as we got this new administration, write down all of your fears, write down everything that you're afraid is going to happen, and let's look at it in a year from now and let's see what happened and see what happened on that list. Did how many of the things that you were afraid were going to happen actually happened from that list? And that kind of helped to was a couple different things. You wrote out your fears on the list, and sometimes writing them down helped dispel them a little bit and get them off your chest and get them out. And then you can look at them a year later and say, okay, well, this didn't happen, and this didn't happen, and this didn't happen. And then also, I think we really have to educate ourselves in where are we getting our information? Are we getting our information from reliable news sources? Because TikTok is not a reliable news source, and CNN and Fox News and a lot of these places are not reliable news sources. And we have to go find reliable news sources
Mhm.
and go to places where the information is unbiased and accurate information, and not get in a media frenzy on what people think is going to happen, because
Mhm.
that can work anybody up no matter what side of the aisle you find yourself on. You can get worked up over politics, religion, sex. There's all kind of topics that can get you worked up, but I think politics can definitely cause a lot of fear and anxiety.
And I feel like with those marginalized group, a lot of them, at least from my perspective of working with them, is one of the techniques that I'm trying to do. Well, I'm not even sure it's a technique, but is that when they come to me with the questions, I try to dissect it and say, do you know how that system works? Do you know what would be the step of them getting this, whatever the law is? How do you think this law would pass? Like, how does Congress does this, and how does
Right.
Congress does that? because in my understanding, I don't think they know the process. I just think it's all fear. I'm not saying they don't have a right to be fearful or be concerned. I definitely
Right.
don't try to dismiss that, but I am trying to tell them, there is a constitution, there are steps, there are judges, there are these things. And another thing is, a lot of them, especially the migrants, they're very afraid. They don't know the process
Right.
and they're very fearful, so they don't even know what their rights are. And
That's
also,
true. They don't know.
they don't know what if they even have rights. Anything with the disability community. Some of them, I'm not saying we all have low, they all have IQ, but some of the IQ would not be able to comprehend a lot of that news, media coverage or what it is. So I'm trying to dissect it. But again, I'm not a news media person. I'm not a government, Congress person. But I am that is what I'm trying to do to eliminate, I would say, the fear, because
Yeah.
my biggest concern, I would say, is them stopping services or stop getting what they need because of those fears. That is
Right.
concern.
Yeah, and that is a fear, and there's nothing you can do about it unless it actually happens. So we have to wait and see. Yeah. So somebody tell me something great that happened this week. What's something that you heard that was amazing, that you have gratitude for, that you feel like really just made things great for you?
Well, I have something really great that happened to me this week.
Okay, what's that?
Um, I was doing disability employment awareness at my job, and
Okay.
I was the speaker. There was a family friend that was there attending, and they tell another family friend, and that family friend that they tell contacted my agency, and I happened to be the individual that they signed this individual to, and they were talking to me about me, and it made me realize all the good things I'd done. Like they were laying out me in such an amazing way. Like I'd done all these things and all these ways because I have cerebral palsy and I work and I have a child and I have a job, and they would love to meet that individual and be like them, and they wanted to get a job. I thought that was really great that they were, but it was also funny. It's like hearing about you and then knowing it was me on the other line because I work virtually. And then eventually I said, well, you speaking to her?
Nice.
She's like, oh my goodness, I am. And she made it sound like I was a movie star that she was talking to, and she was so excited.
Nice. You are a movie star.
So I, I,
You
I
are.
was I was really happy also that I was able to provide her with the services that she needed, which
Yeah.
also made my day because then I would feel really bad because she have this high standard of me, and I'm like, I hope I can help, and I was able to help. So that definitely made my day.
Nice. Good. Thank you for sharing that. So, somebody sent me a message and asked me to explain in simple terms the role of social worker or a therapist, because maybe some people have a misunderstanding of the role of therapist, and maybe the lack of information turns people away from therapy. So, for those of you who don't know, a therapist is and see, to me, that's such a simple question because doesn't everybody know what a therapist is? But a therapist is someone that you talk to about anything you want to talk to about. And sometimes a therapy session can be really deep, and you can talk about things that happened in your past, or you can talk about things that are happening in your day to day life. You can talk about hopes for the future. There's really no limit to what you can talk to a therapist about. I'm not afraid or shy to tell anyone that I see a therapist very regularly, almost weekly. And I talk to my therapist about things that have happened in the past, things that I'm doing right now, and my hopes and dreams for the future. And the limitations of therapy, confidentiality, and HIPAA, the only thing that we are required to report are if somebody tells us that they're going to hurt themselves or hurt someone else. And or if they tell us that there is a child that is being abused, abandoned, or neglected, or a vulnerable adult. So an elderly person or someone who doesn't have the capacity to take care of themselves. So other than that, we don't, as a therapist, we don't report that information to anyone. We're not going to talk to neighbors, coworkers, colleagues, friends, family. We don't share any information with anyone unless somebody's going to hurt themselves or hurt someone else. And that even includes if somebody comes to us and confesses to a crime that they've committed. So we're not the police. We don't arrest them. We don't report them. We don't turn them in. And I've had that happen. I've had people confess crimes to me or tell me about crimes they've committed. And I don't tell anyone because that's something they've done in their past. If they tell me they are going to commit a crime, they're going to hurt someone, then I have a duty to warn and a duty to report that. But they can tell me that they've killed someone and that stays strictly confidential. So that is the beauty in seeing a therapist. And it's, I think, a great relationship to have. I think it's a great resource to have. At Tracy Riley Counseling, we take all insurances with the exception of Medicaid. And we have therapists that are in person. We have virtual services. We have evening appointments, weekend appointments, and we also offer hypnosis. So we have all types of options at Tracy Riley Counseling. So yeah, for the person that asked me to clarify, that is how we do therapy. So, what other questions do we have for our group therapy session tonight?
I
I
think uh, I think something that maybe make it a little confused. I think when you are a social worker, we put on so many hats, so that could confuse people. For example, like where I'm working with the individuals, sometimes I it could start as a case management because I need to stabilize, right? I can't get to them. They're not gonna hear me. Okay, they need food, they need whatever, they need a
Yeah,
wheelchair, they need hospital. So sometimes because we're putting on so many hats, people may not even see us as counselors because we just putting this hat, that hat, turning this on, turning this off, like being whoever in the moment that they need us to be. So I think that confuses us, and also like I feel like the media never show us in a way of like us being counselors. It's always like some DCF cases or some case management roles. I think that's also why people may be a bit.
that's very true. The media shows us as a DCF worker that's taking children away and putting them in foster care. That's typically the media coverage that a social worker gets.
The food stamps office,
Food
department
stamp office,
but
yes, that too.
somebody, and that is so far from the much of the work that we do. But I think that could make it confused for an individual who haven't had therapy
Yes,
or had experience with a social worker. So that
yes,
could be why they're asking like the differences because the media does it. Yeah.
for sure. Has anyone read the book by Mel Robbins, Let Them?
Oh my God, I started listening to her podcast lately and it's phenomenal. But I have not read the
Is.
book, but I actually the last podcast I listened to hers was her and her daughter talking about writing that book. Very excited about
Okay.
it. I'd love to hear what you think about it.
I think it's phenomenal. I've listened to the book all the way through. I have restarted the book. I'm on chapter 8, I believe, of listening to it the second time. I actually reached out to her company today and I said, I want Mel Robbins to come be a guest speaker on Drink with Your Shrink. And they responded and said, no, thank you. They're very nice about it. Very, very nice about it. And they said she really doesn't have time for that, but congratulations, you're doing great work in the community. We love what you're doing. Because I sent them like some of our past episodes, and I responded back and I said, are you sure she's not available? Because, if I don't ask, the answer is always no. And I'm going to keep bugging you guys until you say yes. And they didn't respond to that, but that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep asking them until I get a yes. And I also love Jefferson Fisher, so I'm probably going to reach out to him next. But yes, I think the let them theory is phenomenal. There's a part of the let them theory that we hear that all the time, let them, because that's the name of the book, let them. But there's a second part of the theory that is not as well known unless you listen to the book, and that is let me. So let them do whatever them needs to do, let them whatever, but then let me do what I need to do to take care of me. And maybe that's take a deep breath, or maybe that's go get a cup of coffee, or maybe that's drink with my shrink on the first Monday of every month, or maybe that's go for a walk, or maybe that's whatever. But let them do what they need to do, and then let me take care of me. And it's just such a phenomenal way to live life and pay attention to yourself without worrying what other people are doing. And so if you haven't had a chance to listen to the book or listen to one of her podcasts, I highly, highly recommend it. Just like Elisa said, even if you don't get the book, listen to a couple of her podcasts and really use that opportunity to take care of yourself, not in a selfish, arrogant way. Just take care of you.
So on that note, I wanted to ask you a question about friendships. So I'm looking, I'm in a newer community and I'm looking to make friends. And so I made some friends, and then I actually became very close to a couple. We went on a cruise together, my husband and I, and we were great. And then all of a sudden, like, she just stopped talking to me and like would be really weird about my texts. Like, she moved like 15 minutes away, but I kept inviting her to community events. And she just, would just say, oh, no, thanks. But it went on for a long time. And then I invited her like to this drag bingo thing. And she took like 2 days to get back to me, and then said, oh, I'm going anywhere. I'm going anyway. I'll see you there. So I went with, like, I thought it would be better with girls, and she went with couples, but it was so awkward seeing her. And I did something, but I don't know. And I'm from New York originally, and us, New Yorkers and Northeast, we say what's on our mind. She's from Washington State. And so they don't say anything. And it just, I actually talked to her husband this week. It's gone on for like a year now that we haven't really been close anymore. And I just was like, I don't know what I did. I just want to know what I did so I can become a better person. Because if I offended her in any way, I didn't mean it. Sorry, my dog. I didn't mean it. And I just wanted to, like, tell her, there was misunderstanding. And I don't know. So that let them book, I guess I should just drop it and be like, hey, if she doesn't want to be friends, like, I should just move on and go and meet other friends, right? Is that like the let them theory?
Essentially, yes. So let them. You've reached out repeatedly. She's not reciprocating. Let her live her life. You've
Mhm.
done your part. And that is one of the things that Mel Robbins talks about is having adult friendships. And one of the things that happens in high school is we have a cluster of friends. We are all the same age. We are going through all the same milestones at the same time. And then after high school, we have this scattering and
Mhm.
everybody goes in different directions. And we meet our milestones at different points. We graduate college, we start our jobs, we start our families at all different points. And then we're scattered. And then as adults, we have to make deliberate attempts to have friendships. And they're based on three things. They're based on energy, the amount of energy we put into it. It's based on proximity. Do we live close to someone? And then it's based on timing. Are we in the same general milestone areas? So if I've got grandkids and my neighbor doesn't have grandkids, then we're not in the same timeline as each other. So it takes those three things to have a good friendship. And it takes 200 hours of spending time together for someone to be a very good friend. So it sounds like you guys were headed in that direction and something happened. It could have been something you said, it could have been something simple, it could have been something seemingly harmless to you. I mean, you're a New Yorker. You said what's on your mind. Like it could have been like nothing to you. It could be something like you don't even remember if she were to tell
Right.
you, and you'd be like, oh my God, I don't even remember that. But whatever it was a burr in her bonnet. If she hasn't had the courage or the wherewithal to bring it to your attention by now, she's probably not going to.
Right.
And you're an adult. You can go find other friends, and maybe that's the point. You need to do that. You need to find other friends and basically like let her go.
Right.
Let
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 them.
her go. And I get it. It's hard, but sometimes it's easier to let the broken glass go than it is to try to piece it all back together. So
Okay.
yeah,
All
if
right. Well,
she,
thank you.
I'm assuming you've given her ample opportunity.
Yes, yes, yeah, I have, but okay. Thank you very much.
Well, listen, if you want somebody to go to the drag show with you, just let me know. I love
Okay.
going to a drag show.
Yeah, it's
Vicky,
great.
Vicky,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you a question. Have you
Yep.
tried meetup groups?
A little bit. Yeah. Do you guys know Beach Walk? Have you heard of that in St. John's? No. So it's like a
Um,
newer community, but there's like 857 homes. And so I'm meeting friends, but it's like everybody's very cliquey. And whoops. So it's kind of hard to see. Am I still there? Oh, sorry.
I
Oh
can
yeah.
see you.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, somebody called. So it's just hard to break in and they're like, well, you have a husband. You don't need friends. And I'm like, no. All right, I'm coming. I'm sorry. I have to go actually now. But yeah, I have tried meet up sort of like not really in this area where I was, but yes, that's a good idea. Yes.
I
Thank you.
have found that I have gone to some meetups and I thought they were great in the beginning. And I've
Mm-hmm.
also gone to other meetups and I was turned off immediately. So you really
Right.
have to like play around and go to a bunch of different meetups.
Right. Okay.
Yep, you're right. Because, like Mel Robbins said in her book, it takes three prongs as an adult to find your friends. And that's proximity, living near each other, timing, kind of being at the same point in life, uh, being at hitting the same milestones, and then the energy. How much energy are you willing and able to put into a friendship? And it takes, I think it was 75 hours to be a kind of an acquaintance or somewhat of a friend, and then over 200 hours to be considered a close friend with someone.
Wow.
So it does take a lot of work, and our friends are not steadily available like they were in high school because we're not all going through the same milestones
Right.
like it was when we were in high school. So it does take a lot of work, and Meetup is a great resource.
Thank you. All right, I have to leave now. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, join us again. Yeah, so let's see. I have another question. How does someone find out if they have autism, ADD, or ADHD? So that is a great question. I am actually taking a training in September because I have a lot of, especially women that I see, who ask me all the time, like, is it possible that I have ADHD? Do I have ADD? Am I autistic? And I'm like, well, you're a woman, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, like maybe you're in your 60s. And a lot of women have went their whole lives and they never got diagnosed with autism or ADHD. And so I'm taking an 8-hour training on a particular specific assessment where I will start doing these assessments, not just for women, but I get the question a lot from women to help women figure out, are they autistic? Do they have some level of ADHD or ADD? And so that's been a question that I'm hearing more and more from women. I think women are also, we're often overwhelmed and overworked and very easily overstimulated. And I think some of that comes from the possibility that maybe there are some of these underlying conditions that have just never been addressed or diagnosed. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. Keep me posted, and that will be available to both men and women. I'm still working out some of the details of what that's going to look like. My director of operations is supposed to be getting with my web designer and setting that up, but I don't know if he's done that yet. I'm sure he'll be letting me know soon. So he's going to be setting up the website, and we'll be able to start marketing that pretty soon. So what other Dear Abby and Landers questions do we have? For those of you
If
who
no one
don't
else is,
know,
oh,
what? Go ahead.
I was going to ask something, but go ahead and do what you're doing.
Uh, for mental health clinicians, I published this book 2 weeks ago. This is Mastering Mental Health. I started it like a year and a half ago, but I finally published it 2 weeks ago. This is for clinicians, 1,800 questions to improve your clinical skills. So that is my 7th book out on Amazon. Go ahead, Elisa. You have another question?
Yes, I find lately that I have been speaking to myself negatively
Ah,
when I do mistakes because I live alone, so I can yell out, "What the hell, stupid?" That kind of stuff to myself. I'm finding that I'm doing that more lately, and I don't like that, and I don't know how to turn that around to saying positive, yelling positive stuff to myself.
yeah. Have you seen that skit with Bob Newhart where he goes, "Stop it"?
Yes, I do remember that. That's a classic.
Yeah, so stop it. Stop it.
That is not a therapy answer.
It can be. It absolutely can be. So my husband laughs at me all the time because when I make a mess in the kitchen, I just absolutely giggle. I giggle and I laugh at myself, and then I clean up the mess. And I wasn't always that way, but that's just what I've kind of morphed into. I can make the biggest mess in the kitchen and I just laugh. And it takes practice. So if you catch yourself saying something negative, stop, literally stop, and then just start laughing. And is it going to feel natural at first? No, probably not. But do it anyway. And do it until it becomes a habit, and do it until it becomes habitual, to where sometimes you might make a mess on purpose just so you can practice laughing. And it might be a small mess if you're like me and you really don't like messes. And sometimes, especially if I'm cooking, I will have stuff everywhere. And I say that I clean as I go, but people will come in and they're like, "Oh my God, this is a mess." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm cleaning as I go." And it doesn't look like it to anyone else, but it does to me. And I'll have flour everywhere and flour on my nose and my clothes and everything. And I'm just in the kitchen giggling and having a good time. And practice. It does take practice. So give it a shot. Even if it doesn't feel natural, stop yourself in the moment. If you catch yourself saying something that's not nice, and think of it as if you were the 8-year-old version of you. You wouldn't say that to the 8-year-old version of you. You wouldn't say that to any other 8-year-old that's in the kitchen with you or the bedroom or the living room or whatever room you're in. You wouldn't talk to an 8-year-old that way. So think of you as your 8-year-old version of you.
Just have some grace. Because a lot of time we put a lot more on ourselves. Like we think something is worse than what it is. Something I do when I make a mistake, I kind of pause and be like, I mean, come on, people make mistakes all the time. It's just, can you fix it? Or I ask myself, is this gonna harm someone? Am I gonna harm anyone? This is not gonna hurt anybody. It's just a little bit of mistake. I can fix this. So I kind of talk myself into like, okay, it's not, it is a mistake, but is it the end of the world? Or kind of, no, can you fix it? Yes. Is it gonna take a little bit more time to go back and do this? Yes, but also as an individual with disabilities, I kind of use a lot of dark humor. So I'm like, come on, of course I have dropped out. I have cerebral palsy. I have no, I have no gross fine motor skills. Obviously, I spill juice everywhere. Hello, it's nothing new. So I do a lot of that, which I find that's really helpful. So sometimes just being silly with yourself, like being your
Yeah.
child way. So that helps me a lot. So I hope that
Yeah,
helps.
I like that. Deborah asked, do you think the loneliness epidemic is real or overblown? I think that is an amazing question, and I think the answer is it depends. I think it depends on so many factors. I think for some people, the loneliness epidemic is so real and it is painful and raw and is never ending. And I think for some people, it is an excuse to wallow in self-pity and is an excuse to be depressed and it is an excuse for bad behavior. So I think it is really whichever version of it you feed, and I think it can go either way. And I think that that's one of the reasons that I love Drink with Your Shrink on the first Monday of every month, because it is a way that if you're struggling with loneliness or you have some questions that you want to ask, or if you want to participate, you can. I think it can go either way. And at Tracy Riley Counseling, we have a grief group that we do the second Thursday of every month. It's called Tea and Sympathy, and we offer that in person at the office for people that are grieving. It's not the right fit for everyone, but we do offer it for those people that it is the right fit for. But I think loneliness, especially as we get older, definitely can be a real problem for some people. And maybe not even necessarily the older people, but some people are shy, they're very introverted, they live alone, they may have lost their job recently. Maybe they are just not very social people in general. Maybe they have disabilities and they're not as mobile as they would like to be.
I
And so
think
I do think that social isolation and loneliness can be a very real problem. And then I think some people choose loneliness.
I think especially for my group of population, loneliness it's really hard because there's a lot of barriers. There's barriers of transportation, there's barriers of communication. Um and then there's some of my individuals who on the spectrum, I think they kind of in a way prefer to be alone, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
In some instances, the family, we try to push them for a little bit of social, but I think overall they too overstimulate by going out. So I think that when I think of loneliness, I think of the individual and how they grew up. And I also think of culture. Because for me, as somebody from the Caribbean, loneliness would be terrible because the Haitian community is more, it's not individualized, more as a unit. So I'm so used to having people nearby or family or somebody nearby that to me by myself would be kind of awkward. Like I wouldn't know what that is, right? But compared to somebody who raised in a small family, it might be a lot easier for them to be alone for a little bit. because they become more used to it. I suppose. So I think it goes based on individualized, but at the same time, sometimes I even want time to myself, just for myself. So I think is it affecting you, the loneliness? How long, how many hours are you alone? What is your mental health when you're alone? What are you thinking about when you're alone? Is it healthy thoughts? Is it negative thoughts? So I think all that stuff plays a role.
Elsiana, to touch on what you were saying about there being barriers to loneliness and isolation, absolutely. As you mentioned, transportation, things like that. Also, some barriers that we tend to not think so much about is the fact that societal trends. We are in a trend in our society of technology where communicating with individuals is not a normal thing anymore. We
Mhm.
have thousands of television and radio channels at our disposal. We have so much technology surrounding us that it almost isolates us if we have that in our life from communicating and having that one-on-one connection. The older community, for example, who when they were younger, they had a newspaper. There may have been a couple television channels and radio channels, and their socialization was going out in the community, talking with people, going over to a neighbor's house. Where now we barely know our neighbors because we are so distant from a sense of community, of socializing, as in general, as a society. But yeah, there's so many barriers, and a lot of that has to do with our cultural trends too. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And also another thing I feel like social media is causing, it's like people feel like they know each other, but they don't really know each other. They just know of each other, if that makes sense. Because they never really have the time to sit down with that individual. They only see like bits and clips. It's almost like a film where you see like little bits of people, and then you're like, oh, that's what that individual looks like. But then that causes other self-image problem, mental health problem, depression, because we are looking at bits and small images of individuals that we don't even know who that individual is, but we are looking at bits and pieces that they done edited and do God knows what, and then we're sitting down and comparing ourselves versus in the past. We went to that individual home. We know who their grandmother is. We know who their friends are. We don't have that. We just have bits and pieces of people. Like we don't really know them at all. Although we feel that we do, but we don't.
Absolutely, I agree. I
Yeah,
felt the
we're
same.
so busy and we're so connected, but we're not connected. It's not a
No,
real connection anymore.
no.
I was going to say I felt the same way before I actually met Dr. Riley. To your point, Elsiana, is I knew her on social media before I met her, and I really did not know her. And when I actually met her years ago at a conference in person, my whole perception changed because I actually had the opportunity to know her, to interface, to talk to the real person, not the image that was online, but the real person. So yeah, you're dead on with that. That is definitely a big barrier that we're all exposed to, and I guess whether or not we partake in it is a whole nother issue. But we all have access to it. Absolutely.
No, Jason, that's actually a good point. People have an image on social media, but it's not always the actual image, or it's not always the actual genuine person that you're seeing, because we don't know people really. We think we do when we see them on social media. You didn't like me based on what you saw on social media.
Definitely not. Definitely not until I met you in person. And I'm so glad I had that opportunity because
Well,
I got to learn the real you.
well, I'm glad I didn't meet you on social media. I actually met you in person
You
first at
did
the
meet me in
conference.
person. That's
Yeah,
right. You did.
I didn't meet you on social media. And also, I try when I see individuals on social media to kind of not take it all in, to kind of think of it like a snap films of themselves or the side of themselves that they want me to see at that moment. I don't know how they're feeling at that moment because sometimes we post things because we feel one way, and then God knows 3 hours later we're a whole different person. And sometimes we are screaming out for help, but just because we posted certain way, people never think we need help because I'm one of those people who like I gotta save them all. I gotta be the super person. So I'm always like smiling and everything is great, even though nothing is great. So I feel like a lot of people, giving images, but they could actually be drowning and they could need help and we can't see that like behind the screen because how can we? We don't see them.
Yeah, that's a good point. What other questions do we have tonight?
But what would you say would be a limit? Like, how do you know when you are, I guess, putting too much up there? Or how do you know, okay, I'm going too far, or I'm putting too much on social media, or this is, like I'm not being genuine. Like, how do you catch yourself?
I think some people will never feel like they're putting too much on social media. Some people put every aspect of their lives on social media. And some people put nothing on social media, and some people have like a mix. I think it's just different for everyone. People have to decide for themselves what is the right mix, or what is too much, or what is not enough. So people have to decide for themselves what is their social media persona versus what is their true authentic selves, and how much of that are they showing to social media, because social media is forever. We we I think we all saw what happened to the Coldplay people a few weeks ago. Like, that has changed lives, and not for the better, at least for those two people and their families.
Another
You
thing,
guys know what I'm talking about with the kiss cam?
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a whole nother perspective.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
Dr. Riley, you're talking about, we got to figure out our own limits as far as to the use of social media. While it can be a great outreach, we also got to recognize that it's a place where we typically don't know most of the people we're communicating with. And a lot of the people are there to belittle, to fight, to put you down. And so if you're finding yourself having self esteem issues, being overly critical, being negative, um, that's definitely something you should look at minimizing is your exposure, not
Yeah,
only to social media, but also news channels, media sources, things like
yeah.
that. Because again, somebody, as Alciana said, somebody might be trying to reach out for help on social media, but sometimes it falls flat. You can't get it that way. And other times, the abuses you get on it is far worse than the help you could receive. So if you're definitely somebody that's struggling with some self-esteem, confidence, anything like that, definitely consider minimizing your social media and other media outsources because it tends to be geared more negatively, unfortunately.
For
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and especially certain population than others. Like if you are an individual who looks a little bit different, have a little bit of disability, or anything, different culture, you're not well represented, if that makes
Right.
sense. Like when you look on there, I mean, I can say that you could see now more than in the beginning. Maybe you could see more disabled people trying to come out, but that's not really a big thing. So if you are someone who's looking for support or looking for that type of group of people, you're not very welcoming in that community, and you get a lot of self-hate. So if you're someone, definitely I agree, that's struggling, that's not a place where you would have thought to get healed. No.
That's true. That's true. All right, we are going to wrap it up. Next month, we are not going to meet on the first Monday of the month because the first Monday of the month is Labor Day. So we are going to meet next month on the second Monday. So that's going to be September the 8th next month that we're going to meet. If anybody has any ideas for topics, because apparently Mel Robbins has shot me down, at least for now, because I'm not going to give up. I don't typically take no for an answer. So if anybody else wants to reach out to her, her email address is hello@melrobbins.com. So you guys can all reach out to her and tell her you want to see her on Drink with Your Shrink. Don't forget, at Tracy Riley Counseling, we take all insurances except for Medicaid, but we do offer in-person and virtual sessions. We have evening appointments, weekends. I have male therapist and female therapist. We also do hypnosis. So if there's anything that you need from us, I'm licensed in New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and Florida. We're looking forward to next month. Make sure you invite your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers. You never know who needs to be here to join us. And if you have any ideas for topics, let me know. We're always looking for fun ideas, and then sometimes we have no ideas, and it just kind of comes together as we all hang out. So here's to your mental health, and I will see you all again soon. All right.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye. Have a good night.